I grew up in Ewing Township and Trenton, New Jersey.
I grew up in Bensalem, and then we moved when I was 8 to Jamison, Pennsylvania.
I went to Ewing High School.
I went to school to Warwick Elementary, Tamanin Junior High, then Central Bucks High School, and then to Bucks County Community College.
When I was growing up, I had a cat, 2 cats, and 1 dog.
I had a dachshund, Oscar, and I had a boxer, Xena.
And what kind of pets do you have now?
I have a dachshund, Hershey, and I have a Jack Russell pug, which is Reese's. Yeah. Somebody made the comment, how come we named our dogs after something that would kill them if they ate chocolate?
What are their names?
Hershey and Reese's.
Dogs can't eat chocolate.
Altogether, I believe I have 23 tattoos.
I thought, wow, he has tattoos and a lot of them.
My favorite tattoo is on my leg. It took the longest to do, and I think that's probably why it's my favorite, because it took so long. It's like a dedicated tattoo.
And I asked him about them, and he told me about all his tattoos, and I didn't really reveal that I'm not a huge fan of tattoos until later.
The first time that Diana had seen any tattoo on me, which is surprising because we would pass each other very frequently outside of her condo, but the first time she mentioned a tattoo was when she was actually helping me bottle beer. I homebrew, and I asked her the one day when she came over if she would like to help me out with holding the bottles in place, and I pulled my sleeves up. She's like, "Wow, you have tattoos?" And then after she kind of looked at them, she was like, "That's a lot."
And he, when I said that, I was like, "Oh, you didn't know?" I kind of thought maybe he knew from how I was talking about it, and he said, "Oh, well, is this going to be a problem? I have all these tattoos." And I said, you know, it's not really what's important. It's what's important is who you are, everything. So it wasn't really an issue.
I don't believe she has any favorite tattoos because I don't think she really cares for them.
My least favorite tattoo of his, I would say there's many that I don't like. All the scary ones. Honestly, I try not to look at them too much. So that way, I think there's a couple of eyeballs. There's the panther one, I think it's okay. But there's one with teeth, but I try not to even look at them. Carl and I were neighbors, so we actually walked past each other for a couple years before really talking to each other. I was his direct upstairs neighbor. So things that happened really before we started dating was he had internet that was not password protected that I may or may not have borrowed from time to time.
Diana was my neighbor. She owned the condo above my roommate's condo. And we would pass each other frequently for about 2 years outside. And she was very quiet. Most you would really get out of her would be like, "Hi," that's about it. But when she started dating she was, her old roommate, Becca, was starting to date my roommate at the time. And they would, Becca would kind of have, ask Diana, "Hey, you want to come down here and hang out?" And that's kind of how we started talking to each other.
Oh, the first time that I was alone with Carl, actually our friend started dating, his roommate started dating my friend. And I had said, well, there's a big snowstorm coming up, so we're all going to be snowed in. Why don't we just be snowed in together and we can have a poker night?
Yeah, it's pretty much Becca and Paul's doing that. we came together. The first time that we had actually went out, like I guess you would consider it like a first date, was we had during the blizzards a couple years ago. Diana, I think, was planning like a poker night at our house, and Paul got stuck at work. Becca didn't come over, and it was just me and Diana. And can't really have poker with two people, so we just kind of hung out and watched movies instead.
And the way it ended up happening was, I think his friend, my friend who were dating, really wanted to set us up. So they said sure, that they'll be there. And then when the night came, they decided to be at her house and get snowed in there. So then we still had these plans to get together. So then I came downstairs and Carl and I just watched a movie. So we kind of saw that, you know, that they ditched us. So that was really the first time that I would say that we were alone together.
That was your first date, was sort of by accident.
Yeah.
And I actually remember walking around outside after it had stopped snowing, and we just kind of looked around at all the cars that had all the snow on top of it and all the trees, and it was kind of romantic. That I remember later saying to him that I was wondering if you were gonna kiss me then, and he said, yeah, I kind of thought of that too, but it didn't happen then. No, we didn't kiss on our first date.
When did you first kiss?
I want to say maybe like our third or fourth date. Yes. So Carl's maybe a little shy. Yeah. I think I actually kissed him.
It's probably the official date was Valentine's Day. I asked her if she would like to go out for dinner for Valentine's Day, and we went to Chima in Philadelphia, the Brazilian steakhouse.
Our first date was on Valentine's Day. I would say that's our first date, even though before that we were neighbors, so I would see him and kind of just hang out and watch a movie. And Valentine's Day was coming up, and it was kind of like, you know, is he gonna ask me out on a date? So a couple days prior, as I was leaving, he said, oh, do you wanna get together, go out on a date for Valentine's Day? And that was the big date. And then we went to Philadelphia. We went to a Brazilian steakhouse. And that was our first date.
The funniest part about it, I think, was I really started realizing how Diana can be late for everything. Because we had reservations and she was kind of late getting ready.
Yes. Yes, we argue.
We usually argue about being late. That and money. I guess she's the conservative type with money, and I'm horrible with it.
The argument about money is that he likes to spend it, much more so than I like. Recently, Carl bought a camera because he wanted to take nice pictures on our honeymoon, and he didn't tell me how much the camera was, and I was perfectly fine not knowing how much the camera was. And then actually at my brother Justin and Ann's engagement party, when he had a little bit to drink, and I said, well, you're really taking a lot of pictures. He said, I should. I paid $600 for this camera. And I said, I'm not supposed to know how much you paid for this camera. And he says, well, I've been drinking. Who usually wins the arguments? I would say 50-50. I'll be nice.
She does. She's always right.
What I like best about Carl is how thoughtful he is, that he'll surprise me with things, and he's very, very generous, very loving guy, like no one else I've ever met.
Diana has a very good sense of humor. She has an optimistic view of life, and she tries to find the good in the bad, within the bad.
I really liked him, that he's very considerate. Actually, he made me chocolate-covered strawberries in the beginning, and so I had things to brag about to my mom, and when she would hear that, she'd say, "Oh, he makes chocolate-covered strawberries for my daughter." So I said that about him. Yeah, that he was a very considerate guy.
The thing I don't like about Diana is the lateness, tardiness. She's always late and it doesn't bother her. And I think that just bothers me even more.
What I like the least about Carl is, I guess I could say, I think he can change his mood quickly. He can get frustrated easily, more so than I would get frustrated. So sometimes, you know, I want him just to relax. So.
I would like to know if Diana's going to be early for her own wedding, or if she will be late.
So we were going from Las Vegas to Phoenix, and we were on a main highway, and the GPS tells us to go off the main highway onto this other road. I thought, the GPS, I'm sure, is going to take us to the right place. So he says, "I don't know if we should go off this main highway. I don't really see much around here." I said, no, the GPS knows. So he exits where the GPS tells us to go, and it starts off as a road, and seems to be going okay, and it's actually going parallel to the highway that we were just on. And then it starts to become a dirt road, and you're not really sure if you're on a road anymore. And Carl's, meanwhile, I'm saying, no, it will be fine. And then when we start getting a little more bumpy, and I see the main highway right next to us parallel, I said, okay, maybe we can go back and go on that road. And Carl just thought it was so funny that I was trying to kill him. And we just really laughed, and it was just a really fun drive. That's when I knew for sure that I was in love with Carl.
Did you tell the gummy bear? I forgot about that one.
No, I didn't tell the gummy bear story.
You're good at that one too.
You're gonna sit this one out?
Yeah.
Well, the gummy bear story was the day after our first date. Carl didn't wait long for the second date. We were neighbors, so he said, let's go to this candy shop. And he got his favorite chocolate-covered gummy bears. So on the way home, I went to open up the chocolate-covered gummy bears, and the package just explodes, and there's chocolate-covered gummy bears everywhere. And I said, oh, I'm sorry.
I was on unemployment at the time, by the way. I didn't really have a lot of money to go spending.
He couldn't afford the chocolate-covered gummy bears. So I thought that I would clean it up before I left the car, but he ended up dropping me off somewhere, and I think, you know, I was just thinking about our interaction and forgot that I should offer to clean up these chocolate-covered gummy bears that I just spilled all over his car. But instead, I just left and said bye and shut the door. And the next time I saw him, I said, oh, I'm sorry, I meant to clean up the chocolate-covered gummy bears. So then that's been a story ever since.
2.5 years later, still no cleaning involved.
And meanwhile, did she ever replace the chocolate-covered gummy bears?
I did. I bought you chocolate-covered gummy bears since then.
Okay.